What is your name and what are you going to talk about today?
My name is Tia and I'm going to talk about my autism.
Could you please give us a brief description of what being autistic means to you?
This is obviously for me because autism, is shaped by every person who has it. But autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder in which people struggle with communication, sensory inputs that could be smells, touch, anything, depends on the person. They might have hyperfixations, they might stim, which could mean, a sensory seeking kind of behaviour, as well as repetitive behaviour. And that's very broadly. I do struggle with all of these things, but some people who have autism might only struggle with sensory input, but they may be incredible communicators, vice versa. Yeah.
That's good.
Have you felt you've been marginalised or stereotyped due to being autistic?
Well, me personally, I tend to mask a lot, and I have throughout my life. Masking refers to kind of like hiding your autism. I call it like a customer service voice for neurotypical people. So I think I pass as someone who's non-autistic fairly well, which means I don't struggle with a lot of the marginalisation and kind of hatefulness that comes with stuff like that. But I feel like when people find out that I am autistic, because I think that I mask fairly well, there are a lot of questions that arise from that, like, are you autistic enough? Like, you don't seem autistic. I've never seen an autistic woman. Stuff like that that's just based off misconceptions.
Is there any stereotypes that are seen more in the media about autistic people?
So regarding fiction, I think a lot of classic. I think a lot of mainstream media regarding autistic characters centers around like a cis heterosexual white male who's awkward and dorky and just kind of weird. But I think increasingly there's more of a presence of exploring what autism looks like in female characters, how that extends beyond just being weird, like the genuine struggles that female characters face. We were talking earlier about Heartbreak High. Such a good piece of representation for autistic women, and I really enjoyed that. Going into non-fiction, I think it's worrying how much the news centres around an autistic child doing something wrong because they're autistic, and not just because they're a child who did something wrong. So I think it would be really interesting to see news coverage of autistic success. I think that would be incredible to see. I think that ties in as well with the media portrayal of autistic people as people who should be pitied and who mess up all the time. There should be more of a focus on autistic success because I'm not going to say I'm a success, but I'm a graduate who graduated with a neuroscience degree. I'm going on to be a teacher, to be a positive role model, which even then, autistic teachers, that, even for me was kind of a novel concept. So I think beyond accommodation that is necessary, and I think every person, neurotypical or not, needs some level of accommodation. That's just being a nice person. Beyond that, we're just kind of people. We're just trying to get by, and we know how frustrating it can be sometimes, but we're just trying to live our life as anyone is, really.
How are the stereotypes that you face different to what people assume?
So a lot of the stereotypes for me, I guess, it basically comes down to people identifying autism as an autistic male and an autistic female. A lot of people think that autistic men are very robotic and they present this way and they're focused on schedules. And people don't really have stereotypes when it comes to autistic women or autistic presenting women because, it's not something that's seen a lot in the media. That's changing now, but yeah, I've not really struggled with specific stereotypes that aren't, focused on how I present. For example, I am an autistic person and I took a self-assessment form recently and I ticked that I was sexually active, and that was the only question that decided if I was autistic or not. Like, that pushed it over to the non-autistic side. And it just shows that misconceptions, change how clinical practice functions, and it's just because it feeds into the infantilization of autistic people. And the media portrays them as being infantilized, so that shapes clinical practice. So then, how many autistic people are there undiagnosed who are just sexually active, so they're not perceived as being autistic? It's insane.
Do you feel that being autistic is accepted at the university?
I would say autism is kind of accepted by the university as much as any disability is broadly, but there's no specific help or assistance that the university provides. I think a lot of SENCO provisions at the University of Hull focus on ADHD, dyslexia and dyscalculia, which I think are very valid, and those people do need support, especially in academia. But I wish there was more like specified help for autism, because it's a huge thing, more so than people realise.
How do you think the university could do better with someone that has autism?
I think the first place really is research and education. I think if the staff generally had more of an awareness about what autism looks like for different people, I think that would be an incredible first step. And I also think that extends to lectures. I did neuroscience as an undergrad, and now I'm doing primary teaching. And in both courses, I've had at least one lecture on autism. And surprisingly, both lectures have been in some way inaccurate. And I think that would be an incredible first step, just to teach the public what autism is. It would help.
How do you think your peers, staff, people around you can do better as well?
Yeah, I think regarding peers, I don't think there's a lot really to do beyond an understanding. I think me personally, as someone who, I guess neurotypicals we call like high functioning, I don't really demand a lot of extra resources to get by. I think maybe being accommodating when I don't understand a question, but that's kind of just being a nice person, I think. So for me, there's not really a lot that I could ask for.
Anything else that you would like to say, or you would like anyone to know about autism?
Well, I guess, starting with education. The first thing I would say is listen when people say that something's wrong. Accommodate if you can for their needs. So something that I would always ask for is, warm light that isn't too harsh and direct instructions. But I feel like, not to be ignorant, but those are just nice things. That's not specific to autistic people. And yeah, autism is a spectrum, as everyone knows. Everyone has different needs. So just listen when people ask for accommodation and be open-minded, generally.